Hey everybody, this is Jamie Dawn, your evolutionary revolutionary astrologer. Thank you so much for watching this channel. I just want to give another shout out to Joan, my assistant, who does my editing, and thank you for your love and support. And I just think it's important right now to speak about that, to talk about it with you guys, because we are in some pretty intense energy. Seems like that seems to be the common theme no matter what we're doing, right? But it's a little bit bigger than normal because we are entering into a new eclipse series this week. This is a week of April 16th through the 23rd of 2023. We also have Mercury stationing retrograde the day after the eclipse. And this is also a second new moon in the same sign of Aries that we had a month ago. So nothing is left behind. We pick up where we left off. The energy before any shifts like this can be extremely intense. It can be volatile. It can create all kinds of energy to stir up for us that it can be uncomfortable. But remember, we don't make changes in our lives when we're comfortable. We often make changes because we're uncomfortable and know that there needs to be some changes made. When external circumstances come in that force us to create change, that's where a lot of the internal conflict also comes up because we weren't wanting the change or ready for it, but we can't control those. What we can do is we can continue to cultivate an interior state that says no matter what shows up, I can meet it with my full presence. And I'm working with mastering my mind, my emotions, my physical body, my spiritual body. When I can master these, and there's not one of those that is taking over and running the show, then I can show up fully present. Now, let's talk about the energy astrologically for this week. Monday on the 17th, Saturn is going to trine the South Node and sextile the North Node. South Node is in Scorpio, North Node is in Taurus, Saturn in Pisces. This is a good energy to help loosen up some things that may have bound us or found restrictive to us in the emotional body, as well as in some deep healing, some wounds from the past, so that we can build better trust within ourselves, better trust in situations. Because here's the thing, we want security, but the security has to come from within. Do I need to have validation in order to know I have value? No. We have value regardless of the validation. We want the validation because we're human. But use this energy on Monday to look at where we can develop more self-reliance, more emotional regulation, and faith that our hard work really is paying off. And we start with ourselves. How do I feel inside of myself? Then if there's external validations or conflicts, we can say, okay, I trust myself enough to make a good decision here on how I want to respond to this versus react. Tuesday, the moon is in Aries. It's not at its peak yet with the eclipse, but it will move into the sign of Aries and start a square with Mars in Cancer. Now, the moon takes about 2.5 days or so to move through the signs. So this square is going to apply for a few hours, and then it eases off before it becomes the eclipse. So here's the invitation. At the beginning of this shift with that moon, this can make us feel a really intense emotions. If you hear me anything about the theme of this particular week, it's about mastering the energy that we feel and that we work with. So these intense emotions, they can drive us to act in manipulative ways if we're not careful, but they can also remind us of what we're most passionate about. We can become really good at instigating some things to get things moving forward if we felt blocked, or if there's been something that has been stagnant or procrastinating, we can use this energy to force us into some form of action. We can also get really insistent, or others can be insistent on getting their way, feeling protective or defensive if there's a personal agenda. So we are going to need to watch for that, right? If we can move forward in a way that says, I would like to see this happen, but if it doesn't, I can move into sweet surrender, then we can move out of the defensiveness and into a place of open and meeting things as they are and saying, this is what I prefer. How do we work together to make this happen? Create a win-win. This is also a beautiful opportunity with the moon here squaring off with Mars in Cancer to tap into our intuition, playing in the unseen realm. So if you're feeling, if your emotions are really heightened right now, take a step back to retreat, tap into your intuition, take yourself to the water, take yourself to a place that you feel some nice quiet time is there. Because as we move into Wednesday, this is the energy buildup of the eclipse. It happens exact on Wednesday night on the Pacific coast, which is where I am, but those on other parts of the world are going to feel it Wednesday morning throughout the day. We're all going to feel it energetically because technically we're all one, right? But this new moon is an eclipse. It is a solar eclipse. So the sun and moon are canoodling here at the 29th degree, the anaretic degree of Aries. And it's also, as I mentioned, a second new moon in Aries. So we're working with karma, if you will, destiny, these old patterns that need to be shifted, the things that need to be consciously dealt with. And I'm going to present the theme, look back from 2013 to 2015. We had this is where the nodes of the moon, these are our past, these are our karmic traits, these are the things that we're working to develop to move forward in our growth and in our destiny. The node is sitting next to the sun and the moon. So here we are with the sun, moon in Aries, and they are canoodling with the North Node in Taurus right now. But this does mean that we are setting up our first eclipse in the sign of Aries, Libra. And so think back to 2013 and 15 when the North Node was in Libra, South Node was in Aries, and 2005, 2006, where we had the North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra, which is what we have now. That doesn't mean that everything you experienced in the last 18 years at those particular dates are going to happen again. It's just similar themes may arise and we can meet them in a different way. We can come up and say, you know what, this feels similar, or here's a situation that maybe echoes or mirrors something that I experienced then. Now I can choose to do it differently because I'm smarter, I'm wiser, I have the tools, I have the wisdom, that sort of thing. The emphasis of these next series of eclipses, which will last for about 18 months, is that it's relationship versus individualism. That may create that push and pull for us because here we are as individuals, but we want to be relatable and we want to be in relationship. We want to belong. We want to feel good about who we're interacting with. This is an emphasis also on having courage, passion, and drive to initiate new ways of exerting our self-expression for this particular new moon. Now, the question being, as we consider the eclipse and we consider this new moon, can we be in relationship that offers us independence and freedom and still have stability and security at the same time? That's that North Node in Taurus. So this is a beautiful opportunity to establish ourselves with saying, I care so much about the relationship. I'm not going to abandon myself. I'm not going to abandon this person. And I'm still going to communicate what I need and good boundaries so that I can still be the individual that I am. And I can feed the best version of myself so that when we come together and we spend time together, we have things we can offer each other. So this particular new moon eclipse, we're going to be looking at ways in which we are continuing to heal deep wounds and build trust and security, and look at ways in which we can say, I'm going to take a little risk, a little action here when the opportunity shows up, or I'll create the opportunity, and I trust myself enough to take that initiative. That's the other thing. So think about in your life, what areas of your life would you normally hold back because you're afraid of what other people think? You're afraid of rejection. You're afraid of people making fun of you, or what if it fails? This is a beautiful opportunity to say, what if it actually is successful? What would that look like? Thursday the 20th, we still feel some of the eclipse energy because remember, eclipses are new and full moons on steroids. So we usually feel the energy leading up to 2 weeks after, sometimes a month after, just depends on what's going on in our lives. So we're still going to feel this, but the sun moves into the sign of Taurus, warm, friendly, wanting to nurture, wanting to build and create a solid foundation in our lives. Can be stubborn too and a little immovable if it decides, gets his mind made up about something, right? Taurus is that bull. Now we do have the sun moving into Taurus, squaring off with Pluto in Aquarius, because Pluto's at the early degrees of Aquarius. So after we've had this eclipse energy or this particular new moon day, we might be testing ourselves or a situation to see what is really true. Here we are, we're saying, I'm trusting myself, I'm taking this risk, but can I really trust it? So this is a day where we may test the waters. We are seeking stability, depending on our understanding that loving ourselves should not be dependent on someone else loving us. Let me say that again. This is a time where we are going to be looking at ways in which we can say, I don't need you to love me for me to love myself. I need you to love me and express that love so that I can feel connected to you. A little different. Keep coming back to paying attention to our thoughts, our stories that we're telling ourselves, because that can destabilize us at this time. And we're also going to be looking for deeper meaning of things. And I think that's the other thing that can get triggered, is we can start over analyzing. What do they mean by that? Oh, they didn't call and they said they would. It was 15 minutes later, or, you know, whatever it might be. So watch how that can destabilize us. This is a practice. We're learning to train ourselves to really become proficient with mastering these different bodies that we inhabit here. Mercury stations retrograde on Friday, the next day. So this is another big thing. In Taurus, it's at 15 degrees. So we can look back and say, okay, when Mercury was 15 degrees, I'm going to make some points here. So it's going to retrograde back all the way into the sign of late degrees of Aries. And then it's going to station and go direct and come back into the 15 degrees of Taurus, and of course, move on to Gemini. Pay attention to what themes come up right now, because they will be revisited throughout the next couple of weeks, as well as some things that may have shown up since the new moon in Aries back at the end of March. So these are energies that we're going to be playing with. Now, we know too that when Mercury retrogrades, things from our past come back to be revisited, reconsidered, renewed, all those RE words. It's important not to be too quick to come up with conclusions. That is a gift of Mercury in Taurus, has a tendency to slow our minds down, be more methodical in the way in which we communicate, maybe the stories we construct, that sort of thing. So we can use this as a time to go internal, because remember, when a planet retrogrades, it appears as though it's going backwards, but really it's standing between the sun and the earth. And so it's closer to us. So we're going to feel the energies a little bit stronger. The common theme that you'll hear me say in every Mercury retrograde, not everything is as it appears to be. Give ourselves a lot of space and grace, give others the benefit of the doubt, remind ourselves that we're all human and we're all going to make mistakes, and there's going to be miscommunication, or there's going to be some misunderstandings that show up. So instead of jumping to a conclusion, go back and ask questions, reread things. When your past comes back, this gives you an opportunity to wrap things up, to get really clear. If there's some loose ends that need to be tied up, this is a great time to do it. With Mercury and Taurus, issues related to the physical world are most likely what we're going to be dealing with. What do we need to feel comfortable? What do we need to feel secure? There could be instability with financial matters that show up. And this could show up in needing repairs with the car, or needing to pay for particular travel that you hadn't planned for, things like that. Intuition leads the way. And of course, because Mercury deals with the messages, how we give and receive information, how we communicate, our communication and travel and all that is most likely going to be affected in some way. Not in every case. I'm not saying you shouldn't travel or you shouldn't talk to people or anything like that. But again, give yourself a lot of space and grace, ask a lot of questions. You may have to repeat yourself a few times. Try not to get frustrated with that. When changes come, don't resist them. That's one of the things that we have to be careful of, because Taurus energy is a perfect time to access patience more than ever. So when that change comes, you surrender and you move and you go with the flow. It's not a time to start new things, make big purchases, have important meetings. All of those should, if you can, postpone them. If you can, do some research around them, but try not to sign on dotted lines. If you do, get warranties, expect to come back and have to revisit it down the road. Some things are just not going to be what you think they are when you sign them. It's not the end of the world. Just know it may come back. So Clear your space in your calendar if you need to think through some things. That's another thing to really pay attention to for this Mercury retrograde time. Mercury will station and go direct May 14th, but not be out of shadow till almost the end of May. So we've got more than a couple of weeks. We've got a few weeks of settling into this energy. Use it as a time to tap into our intuition, build more trust in ourselves, test the waters, but be extremely kind, friendly, all those wonderful Taurine energies that we can tap into. Use them as a chance to build deeper bonds within our relationships and find greater understanding and greater healing. So again, remember, we're all human. We're all going to mess up now and again. Let's just give ourselves the same compassion that we would give another when that happens. All right, you guys, I hope this helps. Please like, subscribe, share, comment. Come find me at jamiedawn.com, and I look forward to connecting with you. Have such a great week.